In the morning, you can see her on her way. In her hand, a big yellow bouquet. And her hair shines like the...
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Acid Archive Diaries number 16. And today we've got another deep cut. This is an original copy here. Kind of just taking advantage of this Acid Archive Diaries. Just, show the goodies, right? Show some deep stuff and dive into it. So if you guys already haven't noticed, in the description box I always post, or I try to remember to post the thread of my Acid Archive Diaries. And in the past I've also done Dom's thread, which has like probably up close to 100 videos now. But this time I'll post mine in case you guys missed it. So far I only have 16. This is the 16th one. So look forward to the Acid Archive entries I've made in that description box. Starting off, we're going to be doing James McCarthy. Born a Loser. Just did not have self-confidence in himself. This is on Audio House. And that label might look familiar to you. There's a few notorious records on this label. But it's kind of one of those labels like Century Records, sort of locally owned, very private, very homemade kind of recordings here. They oftentimes did a lot of like high school bands and just kind of regional, college groups, jazz quartets in college and stuff. I don't know all the full details behind the label, but I know that it's, they very much circulate around Nebraska with those kind of releases. But there are a few that kind of snuck through, like this one, that are kind of special. This one and the other one that comes to mind is a band called Smack, and it's like a cover band. It's really heavy record. It's kind of like heavy psychedelic rock, and it's all cover songs. But this one, there might be a few other releases like this where it's actually a singer-songwriter, but it's sort of somewhat uncommon to see this sort of thing. So James McCarthy, don't know much about this man. The only thing that I can find is in a comment section on one of the songs on YouTube. Claims to be an ex-wife who was trying to track him down a few years ago, and he must have 3 kids with this woman, and based out of Chapman, Kansas. And I looked that up. It looks like it's kind of central Kansas, like smack dab in the middle. So very much a rural part of Kansas. And I've never been there, but I think it's like north of Wichita, somewhere up in that area. But somehow he made it to Lawrence, Kansas, where Audio House is produced from. And yeah, so what you can tell just by kind of looking at it, Born a Loser, looks like he's in a dark room there, kind of a dark corner, padded cell kind of guy. And just like the other guy from Kansas, Val Stocklein from the Blue Things, kind of got that same... There must be something in Kansas that turns these guys into lost loner types. But yeah, it's very much loner folk, not so much psych folk at all. It's very stripped down, kind of straightforward singer-songwriter, but at the same time, sometimes it gets a little upbeat, somewhat elegant, but it's, again, just a voice and a guitar and nothing more. I wouldn't even consider this acid folk, psych folk. It's very much a contemporary folk of its time. However, I think they're all original tracks, from what I recall. Yep, Words and Music by James McCarthy, so all original tracks, and they're pretty good tracks too. There might be like a bluesy folk cut on here, but it's mostly pretty soft, sort of introspective, and dusty. So right away you might notice it's kind of a unique pressing. So this is actually the original release pressed on blue vinyl, which is kind of unique. I think there's also some Audio House records I've seen on red vinyl in the past. I guess they're just kind of having fun with it. You kind of see me in the reflection there. So yeah, looking at the disc, I don't know if you can tell, there's some scuffage going on. But I did get this for a pretty decent price on eBay years ago. Just couldn't let it slip out of my hands. This is kind of a, you either get it or you're going to lose it kind of deal. I think nowadays these are kind of fetching for maybe in clean shape, like up towards 400 bucks maybe. Which is kind of an insane price, but considering its rarity, the quantity they pressed, I think there's reportedly like 200 copies at most. Pretty small run. So, and as you can tell on the back cover too, I mean, they didn't even care to put credits or song track listing on the back, so this is very much a pretty close to DIY kind of product here. So some highlights here, I would say the first track's pretty notable. I think it's almost like 4 or 5 minutes long. It feels long anyways. The production's a little muddy in spots. You know, sometimes the acoustic guitar is kind of draining in the background. You know, it kind of gets lost a little bit with his voice overpowering for the most part. And he's got a pretty decent voice. Can't really think of anybody to compare him to. Maybe Donovan, if he was a little more rugged. I don't know. It's kind of hard to pinpoint it. But some of the songs don't really stick in my head right away, but the more I listen to it, it's you know, a clearer picture for sure. But some songs on side 2 really stick out too. She Falls Like the Rain. It's probably my favorite off of here as a whole. But, and Hey Mr. Sun, the last track's also very good. Get a shot one more time of the label there. And there was a full album upload, so it sounded pretty good from what I remember. If you guys want to give this a little sample online. So that's really all I got. I knew it was going to be kind of short and sweet, and you know, kind of left with some mystery in there, which is kind of why we love these type of records, right? At least I do. So let's dive into our little guidebook here. Second edition of the Acid Archives. It's kind of funny, I'm using this as a bookmarker. Free jazz sticker. I don't remember where I got this from. Someone shipped this in the mail when I ordered something. And I have not read this yet, so let's give this a shot. James McCarthy, Born a Loser, 1971. Sounds about 71, post-60s. Audio House, it says blank back, blue vinyl, and it gets the 4 rarity, which is quite scarce. I think that's the highest ranking here, so a classic example of a record musically unworthy the value it trades hands for. This piece of simple loner folk acts as psychic tar pit of mediocrity, sucking the life out of the listener. With each spin, an oral sedative. The attention it receives surely must be from it being on the same Kansas label as Smack, Klansman, and Logos. Yeah, that's another one, Logos. I think Gearson reissued that one. As it would drive all but the most delicate-hearted folk collector up a wall. An exercise in the Prozac. The songs all sound like they're in the same key, even if they aren't, and only very slightly in feel. A straight recording of McCarthy's wimpy voice and soul guitar. It evokes a Nowheresville coffee shop performer sadly being ignored by RP. So, yeah, kind of a simple one. It's definitely not going to be for everyone. But if you're into those kind of delicate loner folk kind of LPs, I don't know if it's a good comparison. Maybe something like Arthur, Dreams and Images, maybe. Although it doesn't have that kind of cosmic backing to it. It's just kind of a voice and guitar. Maybe for a comparison. Doesn't get too freaky. It's pretty straightforward, straight shooting record. And I like it. I don't listen to it very often, but like I said, I saw it on eBay once. Couldn't say no. It was too good of a price. So honestly, it's probably a G+ copy, but like, you know, the music overpowers pretty well on here, except for a couple spots, but you know, you get them how you receive them. Get them as is, and sometimes it's disappointing. In this case, not too much. So there we have it. Acid Archive Diaries number 16. I don't know what the next one's going to be, actually. I have not planned it out. I've made a list, I guess, of some possible choices, but those are some pretty monstrous choices as well. Some that hardcore site collectors are into, but I kind of like doing these deeper cuts, sort of the, in the background, never talked about. It's kind of a little more fun for me, but there we have it. So hopefully I'll have an update for you soon as far as the local finds, because I'm still kind of diving into like one or two of them as I've been posting them this week on Instagram. So otherwise, give him a listen and reassure him he's not a loser. So take care, and we'll see you soon.